Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome to Suji Reaction. Alright, I heard about B-1 Lancer taking off from certain bases to attack Iran, and Iran giving warnings to Britain. Like, why are you letting America use your bases? We are gonna attack you type of way. What is surprising to me is that America has been bombing Iran for like 10 or so days now, 10 plus days. They use many different type of planes. But as soon as they'll use B-1 specifically, then Iran gives warning to Britain because it's B-1. That's how awesome B-1 is. There's just news of B-1 being used and getting launched from like British bases, joint British American bases. Iran's like, oh my god, like we have to threaten Britain now. So B-1 is that good. Like all the like B-52 is workhorse, B-2 is a stealth plane, but supersonic bomber B-1 is just like whole another level of fear. Whenever supersonic bomber is on your shores, on your skies, yeah, that's not a good day. So we're gonna watch a video about it. B-1 Lancer delivers overwhelming firepower against Iran. It's gonna be interesting. Let's do this one.
The US started surgically, deploying B-2 Spirit stealth bombers to take out key nodes in Iran. Then, it sent in the B-52s to devastate Iran with sledgehammer strikes. Next up are the B-1s. The US B-1 pilots have pulled off an unbelievable strike on Iran that will most likely be studied in every military pilot school from now on. This is the final blow, and it has hit so hard that Iran's collapsing regime will never recover. The US has just said, "Forget stealth, we are in total destruction mode." According to Air and Space Forces magazine, the arrival of B-1 bombers in Iran signifies...
Okay, how should we attack them? With finesse, with stealth, full speed, firepower, Jeremy Clarkson mentality, speed and power, that's what we're doing.
that the US has no intention of ending its campaign of devastating strikes against the country and its despotic regime. That's been confirmed by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, who said on March 2nd that this work is just beginning and will continue when speaking to reporters at the Pentagon. And continue it has, as the US unleashed its B-1 bombers on Iran almost immediately after it sent B-2 bombers to strike at the heart of the country's command and control facilities. These B-1 bombers had to make long trips. Like the B-2s that came before, the B-1s had to fly for over 30 hours to get to Iran, amid the UK refusing to allow the US to use the key bases of RAF Fairford and Diego Garcia, the latter of which is in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, but now Britain has said you can use it, which is why Iran is threatening them. So I'm guessing RAF Fairford and Garcia, but I think it's Fairford which is being used right now. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure Iran's ballistic missiles can reach Britain. I don't know. What if Iran attacks there? That wouldn't that be too much? I don't know, man. That would bring in NATO, if anything else. I don't know.
Ocean, and would have given America's B-1 pilots a chance to land, refuel, and prepare for their strikes. This situation has since changed, and we'll address it later in the video, but for the initial wave of strikes, the B-1 pilots proved that they didn't need anybody's help to get the job done. Over 30 hours in the air was nothing for America's pilots as they followed on from the work done by their compatriots in the B-2s with a bombing run that has left Iran devastated.
Look at those intakes.
So the obvious question arises, what did the B-1 bombers actually do in Iran?
Those engine intakes are insane. Look at that. Look at the size of it.
They participated in a campaign that saw the US hit over 1,250 targets during the first 48 hours of the conflict, according to Air and Space Forces magazine. And their role was simple: deliver a staggering 74,000-pound payload into the heart of Iran. According to the magazine, the US sent 3 B-1s into Iran, which took part in a mission to strike Iran's missile sites, along with yet more of the command and control, or C2, centers that Iran needs to keep operational if it's to coordinate anything even resembling a war against the US.
You think B-1 is compromised because it has to be really fast, really aerodynamic. Look at the shape of it. It looks like a fighter jet, but it's a bomber. You think B-52 has a higher payload because it's very simplistic. It's a big cargo, basically plane. It can't go supersonic or nothing like that. No, B-1 has the highest payload. How did you manage that? How did you make it supersonic and have the highest payload of any bomber?
US. Iran's ballistic missile infrastructure was the key in these B-1 strikes, and we'll explain why in just a few minutes. But first we mentioned 74,000-pound payloads. Multiply that by 3 for the number of B-1s that the US sent in Iran, and you get an insane maximum of 222,000 pounds of explosive fury delivered to Iran in a single mission. And fury is the right word. Both for the US operation, which has been named Operation Epic Fury, and for what the B-1 bomber can pack into its bays. We don't know precisely which weapons the US B-1s used in Iran, but the pilots of these bombers would have been spoilt for choice, as almost everything that it can deliver has the ability to utterly ruin a target. On the standard bomb front, a B-1 can be loaded with up to 84 Mark 82 dumb bombs, each of which weighs 500 pounds. The aircraft can also carry 24 Mark 84 general purpose bombs, each weighing 2,000 pounds. Mark 62s, which weigh 500 pounds each, and Mark 65 quick strike naval mines can also be loaded into the bomber, though it seems unlikely that the latter would have been used in the B-1 sorties in Iran. As for the other bombs, all three are possibilities, though they would require the B-1s to fly almost directly over the targets, potentially placing the bombers in range of Iran's air defences. As shattered as these defences were by the earlier B-2 bombing raids and the sledgehammer strikes delivered by America's B-52s, the possibility of a B-1 takedown by Iran was likely enough to keep the American bombers from flying directly over their targets. But the US didn't need direct flight. The odds are that it used the B-1s to deliver firepower from a distance to destroy Iran's missile facilities and C-2 centers. As the US Air Force points out, the B-1 can be loaded.
That is the most insane part. When we talk about these bombers being used, no Iranian will ever see these bombers because they are like way far away, launching missile and just walking away, because these are like precise long distance missiles. You don't need to like go close. Why do that? Why worry about IS-300s and S-400s when you don't have to?
Loaded with 24 2,000-pound GBU-31 Joint Direct Attack Munition, or JDAMs. Alternatively, it can carry up to 15 500-pound GBU-38 JDAMs, or up to 24 AGM-158A Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff missiles. And it's the use of the word standoff in that last missile's name that gives you a clue as to how the US used its B-1s. Rather than sending its trio of bombers directly over the targets that the US wanted to strike, the US sent them to Iran so they could fire off their massive payloads at a safe distance. Thousands upon thousands of pounds of guided bombs and missiles battered Iran's C-2 centers and missile facilities, leaving them as little more than smoking craters in the ground after they'd been hit by an enemy that they couldn't even see. National Security Journal provides a few more details about the operation itself. It says that the trio of B-1 bombers flew round-trip sorties from the continental US. They were supported by American refueling tankers flying over the Atlantic Ocean and Mediterranean, allowing them to stay in the air without landing at any bases to refuel. The B-1s then came in like flying ninjas and did what they were tasked to do. They entered Iran's airspace, unleashed their bombs and missiles, then flew back home, likely using the same aerial refueling tankers to get back to the US in the process. These sorties were made possible by the earlier B-2 bombing runs, as the journal makes clear when discussing the key differences between the B-2.
Not just B-2, but I think F-35s, right? Because early F-35 uses basically took out a lot of like SAM sites, or at least the like on the face level of SAM sites, which could be a problem. And B-2s took out like big depots where things can hide. Then you use things like this.
And B-1. If the B-2 can approach closer to heavily defended or hardened targets, the B-1B must either operate after air defenses have been degraded or remain outside the most densely defended areas altogether, the outlet reports. This is why standoff munitions are the most likely choice for the B-1. The aerial battle has been shaped. The US took full advantage of that fact with its B-1 bombers. The bombers functioned as what National Security Journal calls a high-capacity launch platform. After the B-2s had done their work with penetrating strikes, the B-1s followed up with precision strikes, launched from a distance, that were made possible because Iran's air defenses were so ruined that stealth was no longer a must. The US still has to be careful, of course, which is why it's not using its bombers in more traditional bombing runs. But the battlefield has been shaped by the US with an ingenious strategy that has allowed it to use a layered bomber approach to overcome Iran's layered air defenses.
US should be more careful how they use their equipment as well, because another issue is rising, which I didn't thought it would. I kind of thought that. I said that in one of the videos. or maybe that's going to happen, which is China. China is doing drills right now, and they literally launch a missile towards Taiwan as a drill and came with a warning. Like, it was a threatening type of warning, not some vague warning, threatening level of warning against Taiwan, right? So China might use this opportunity where US is busy with Iran to attack Taiwan, thinking US might not do anything about it or not at the scale, right? So US already knows this. It's like Pacific area with Marines. The whole thing is different. I mean, China probably knows that, hopefully. Like the level of like CENTCOM is not the same as like, what is it, Pacific Com, and like there are different amphibious air carriers, and there are different type of Marines are there, right? There are different US soldiers, and like aircraft carrier, super carrier is also there. It's different from the Iran one. I hope they know that. If they're thinking like, oh, USA is busy with Iran, so USA won't do anything for Taiwan, that's not how USA functions. USA is like spread around.
The Iranian onion has been peeled. All that's left are the tears of the crumbled regime. Let's come back to the targets that the US struck with its B-1s. Iran International confirms that overnight strikes conducted by the US bombers on March 2nd took out above-ground ballistic missile sites, along with the C-2 centers we mentioned. Stick with us, as we'll explain why all of this matters for the future of the war in a moment. TBN Israel explains a little more, noting that in the aftermath of the B-1's striking, damage was done at some of Iran's key facilities. Strong explosion sounds were heard in the area of the nuclear facility and the Air Force base in central Isfahan in Iran.
I've seen this channel, TBN Israel, like he runs 24 hours streaming or something, and sometimes post videos as well.
The same outlet also supports the reports that the US has been hitting Iran's ballistic missile sites and C-2 centers with its B-1 bombers, all of which feed into the American strategy. What the US, along with Israel, has unleashed on Iran is already bad enough from the perspective of Iran's regime. However, things are going to get a whole lot worse for Iran. But before we get to that, you are watching The Military Show. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect time to hit the button, so you always stay ahead of the curve. Now, you've seen how the US used its B-1 bombers to devastate Iran. There are several reasons why this strategy matters in terms of what's coming next. Starting with the destroyed C-2 centers, losing these is a massive blow for Iran. A C-2 center is any central location where commanders can gather to direct operations. It's from these centers that orders are given to troops on the ground, as well as to naval, aerial, and missile assets. Think of them as the brains of an entire wartime operation. Without C2, the brain is cut off from the rest of the body. If your brain dropped out of your head right now, your body wouldn't be able to do anything. You'd be dead. That's what the US has done to Iran with its focus on C2 centers. Orders aren't even being formulated.
Yeah, your brain is you. Everything else is like part of you. Your brain is you.
Never mind being sent out, because Iran has lost its C2. This also impacts Iran's ability to monitor the battlefield. For instance, it's difficult to launch drone and missiles.
Look at the precision here. See, the thing is destroyed, but there's like, what is a swimming pool? What is that? Like, there are like trees and like decorative things. They're all fine. Just like 2 feet away, like you see black, like charred thing here. Conveniently, like not touching this area. That's the precision we're talking about. No error. Exact target's gonna get hit.
Also impacts Iran's ability to monitor the battlefield. For instance, it's difficult to launch drone and missile strikes against US naval assets when the infrastructure in place to observe those assets has disappeared. What we've seen here, and the B-1s have played a crucial role, is everything that sits behind the scenes of Iran's military posture being dismantled by the US in a matter of days, and we're already seeing the results. Beyond the loss of its C2 centers, Iran is also struggling to deal with the fact that America's B-1 bombers have destroyed many of its ballistic missile launch sites. Combine the two, and you get fewer missile launches by Iran. According to a March 4th BBC report, Iran has managed to launch 571 missiles and 1,391 drones since the beginning of the war. That presents a problem in its own right on the missile stockpile front, as we'll cover in a moment. However, Kane said on March 4th that Iran's ballistic missile launches were already down 86% when compared to the first day of the conflict.
That was in March. He was that low in March. Let's just say the margin of error is there. Maybe it's 25%. That was in March. What do they have left right now? Like, that's insane, man.
And they had fallen 23% between March 3rd and 4th alone. Add a 73% decline in drone launches into the mix, and you start to see the effects of the B-1 strategy. Take out C2 and the missile launches can't be coordinated. Destroy the missile bases and launchers and missile strikes won't happen, even if Iran can get its C2s up and running again. The Jewish Institute for National Security of America, or JINSA, throws another wrench into the works for Iran. On March 5th, it compared what we're seeing from Iran right now to what it did during the 12-day war with
I get it. These sources could be biased. First was like the news channel which had the name Israel in it. This is also like, yeah, these sources could be biased. But even then, if you look past them with a massive margin of error, all of this was the case in March. There's a reason nowadays you hear about like Iran launching 10 ballistic missiles, 5 missiles, like 5 or 10 drones, not hundreds, like barely 10 or 15, because there's barely anything left. People are like, oh, how is Iran is attacking still? Like, you're attacking what, 10 missiles? 10 is nothing.
Israel back in 2025. With US and Israeli forces rapidly destroying roughly 75% of Iran's launch capacity, the regime can no longer conduct sustained, large-volume barrages. Iran can still mount limited attacks, but each attack burns through its remaining launcher force and forces even smaller. The decision seems to have come in the wake of Iran hitting a UK base in Cyprus with one of its attack drones, which has brought the UK into a supporting role for the fight. The US hasn't exactly been magnanimous about this turnaround, likely feeling that the UK has stung it from the off by not...
This is US. Stardom was like, oh my God, we are staying away. Are you kidding me? Like, we're not doing anything. Iran launches drones. It's like, fine, we'll do anything. And Trump's like, yeah, it's too late, man, too late.
Allowing it to access the bases in the first place. From the US perspective, this lack of access created a lot more risk for its B-1 bombers.
It did.
US President Donald Trump has already delivered some scathing criticism to start, claiming that he's now looking to join wars after we've already won. There are also suggestions that the UK may send some of its aircraft carriers into the Persian Gulf region.
USA never needed anyone. Never. Right? In the modern history, USA never needed anyone. So first Britain doing this and then like, fine, USA can use it now. Do you think Trump's not going to remember that? Do you think US military is not going to remember that? Europe is already kind of becoming unstable right now with the Russia-Ukraine thing. Who knows where that's going to leak? Does Britain really want to make their biggest ally since, I don't know, independence of America for some reason? Biggest ally, America, the most powerful country. Did they really want to make them angry? What were they thinking? Right? They've always let America use the bases. They've always done that. Why did Starmer this time like, okay, no, you can't use it? Like, nobody's happy with Starmer in England, is there? Like, every time I hear about anyone talk about it, they're just angry at Starmer.
Which led to another rebuke from Trump. The US president took to Truth Social to say, "The United Kingdom, our once great ally, maybe the greatest of them all, is finally giving serious thought to sending 2 aircraft carriers into the Middle East. That's okay, Prime Minister Starmer. We don't need them any longer, but we will remember." However, what seems to be a divide forming between the US...
First of all, they don't have 2. One of them is like a repair, right? Only one is left. And even that's going to go into repair. We're talking about 2. Where did that come from? Like, one is literally in repair right now, right? And one is functioning, even that had an issue. And US is like, yeah, we have like 11, 12 of them. We don't need yours.
US and the UK may instead be performative on Trump's part. How do we know? Well, on March 7th, The Guardian reported that 4 B-1 bombers had landed at RAF Fairford, which you may remember as one of the 2 key bases that the UK barred the US from using during its initial B-1 strikes. These bombers are likely stopping off for fuel before they make their way to Diego Garcia, from which they will launch yet more strikes. And once those strikes are over, the B-1s will be able to return to UK bases.
Or it could be, I don't care what you said, B-1s are landing here, what you gonna do?
Refuel and restock, and then go again. And what we saw on March 2nd was a taster. What's coming is going to be much worse for Iran, as the US, with the UK's help, is soon going to be in a position where it can send B-1s into Iran over and over again in very short time periods. Bear in mind that this is an Iran that is already being peppered with attacks. By March 6th, Breaking Defense was reporting that the US was claiming to have struck 3,000 targets, including 43 of Iran's warships. Piece by piece, the US is stripping away everything that might have made Iran a military threat. The arrival of B-1 bombers at UK air bases only adds to the more consistent firepower that the US wants to bring to Iran. What's left of Iran's regime will be looking for an off-ramp. It seems like the US isn't going to provide one. According to CNN, Trump has already said that no deal will be done with Iran until the country's regime offers an unconditional surrender to the US.
Yeah, so like that still holds true to this day. Like I don't know where that's going, right? But one thing is damn sure: with Diego Garcia and B-1 Lancers, like these are supersonic bombers, so they can literally unload their 74,000 pounds of payload, go back to Diego Garcia, and just do these sorties, rinse and repeat, right? And they can do very fast because these are supersonic bombers. Diego Garcia is very close to Iran.
Hasn't come yet. Though Trump has suggested that Iran has surrendered to its Middle East neighbors, that doesn't seem to be the case. Now, Trump is claiming that the US is getting ready to hit very hard against Iran with strikes that will include areas and groups of people that haven't already been targeted. It's likely no coincidence that the US has sent its B-1s to RAF Fairford as Trump is making these threats. The US wants its bombers ready to go again as soon as the order is given, and Iran...
Yeah, Iran gave threat to England, but Britain, that there might be attack against them, implying maybe in mainland Britain, not in one of their overseas islands or something, which is like, I don't know.
Will be in for a world of extra pain beyond what it's already experienced when the B-1s are unleashed for a second round. With no off-ramps being made available that could preserve its regime, Iran is trying to widen the war, and in doing so, it's shooting itself in the foot that is connected to an already battered body. We mentioned earlier that Iran has rattled off about 500 missiles and over 1,000 drones. Most of these have targeted its Middle Eastern neighbors rather than the US ships surrounding the country. Every one of these strikes is a reminder that Iran wants to be the bully of the Middle East, even...
Yeah, attack all the Middle Eastern country, flex in front of America, and let's attack Britain, mainland Britain, so NATO gets involved. Why not? Let's do all that thing. I'm surely nothing bad's going to happen from that. I don't understand the mentality. Like, I try to think about it. Let's think about from their perspective. What are they trying to do? Is this going to change any outcome? No, it's not. It doesn't matter what you do. America is going to do what America is going to do. No person on the planet can really pressure America. It's usually the other way around. So it's not like you're going to attack Britain and Starmer's going to be like, Trump, stop it. Trump's like, well, what'd you say? And just put the phone down. You're just making everybody else enemy besides America. America's already there. How that's going to work, I don't know. But there you go. B-1 at Diego Garcia. It's just, like supersonic bomber. It could be really fast, right? Like this is happening now. I'm pretty sure the news was from, like today, basically. Yesterday, today, news travels slow, whatever. So B-1 Lancers are on, like ready to go from the bases. Iran was threatening Britain. I don't know what's going to happen. I guess it's just going to intensify, right? Strikes has been happening for 12 or so days now. But now it's going to go into the phase of like even getting intensified. Maybe attacking certain like power plants and things like that. Who knows where this is going? But it's going to be interesting. All right, well, there you go. If you like my next one, subscribe and I'll see you next time.